Hi, everyone, and welcome to week 2 of this month's Black Girl Magic Book Chat, Women's History Month edition. I'm back with another banger, so to speak. For those of you who are new, my name is Larissa, and I am the African American Resource Center Coordinator for the Tulsa City County Library. All month, I'll be reading books by Black and African American women in honor of Women's History Month as a way to highlight their stories. Last week, I started with Allow Me to Introduce Myself by Anyi Wabanelli. I think that's right. Excellent book. Go watch last week's chat. This book was Where the Wildflowers Grow by Terah Shelton Harris. Look at this book. Okay, I think you can see it. um, a lot of times when I'm doing these book chats, I look through lists to choose my titles. I look at what other books get really good reviews or solid reviews, but don't always get a lot of hype. Sometimes I do want to read the books that get a lot of hype, so then I'll choose those because I haven't had a chance to, and this is a reason to. But this time around, I thought I would just go through our catalog, both physical and our digital catalog, and choose books with pretty covers that sound good. I know. Don't tell anybody that I'm judging books by their covers, but I literally am. And so this book was on Hoopla, on the Hoopla app. So I literally just got on my Hoopla and just started scrolling through women's fiction, looking for books. And this is the one. Sorry, computer. There we go. This is the one I chose. Lovely color cover, and it sounded really good. So I'm 2 for 2 this month because I really enjoyed this book. All right, let's get into it though. This book follows the main character Lee, or given name Leandra. When we meet her at the beginning of the story, she's been in an auto accident that has killed everyone except her. And there's, as a reader, you're thinking there's a distinct possibility that she could die. But through her time in this water, we learn that she's a survivor. That the way she was raised means that drowning is not what will kill her, because this automobile that she's traveling on, crashes over a ravine into water, and again, everybody else drowns, but she makes it out. And using those survival skills that she was taught, she continues on. The only problem, she survives. That's excellent. The only problem, she's a convicted felon. And the accident happened while she was on a prison bus headed to another facility. So she knows that when they realize that this bus hasn't made it to the prison that it was supposed to get to, it's only a matter of time before they start looking for her. So off she sits. She spends some time trying to figure out where she's going to go and how she's going to stay under the radar, because she figures, okay, this is a way to escape, right? So she's trying to figure out what she's going to do. After a few mishaps, she gets stuck in Camden, Alabama, which is a ferry ride away from Gee's Bend. If you don't know or have not heard of Gee's Bend, it's a town most famous for their quilts. And so after enslavement, many African Americans in this area settled in Gee's Bend. It's a pretty isolated area. It was characterized, unfortunately, by poverty. But as we know, a lot of black folks, they make a way out of no way. And so these quilts, they, were originally created to keep the residents of this town warm in their unheated homes. They didn't have, electricity and heat. And so they created these really beautiful quilts for that purpose. But what they became were artifacts of strength, of resilience, of creativity. They're beautiful. There's a festival, I think, every year in Gee's Bend. So if you don't know, look them up. But this idea of the legacy of strength and resilience and creativity, that's an important message in this book. So in Gee's Bend, Lee ends up working on a flower farm, and she meets this guy named Jackson, who's the owner of this farm, as well as 2 other men, Tib and Luke. And with her time with these gentlemen on the farm, we learn about her time growing up and what led to her incarceration. And we get to watch how she heals from that time. One of the main things that this book focuses on is Lee's history. She grew up out in the middle of nowhere and virtually did not exist. She and her younger sister were born at home and never received birth certificates. Because if no one knows that you were born, you don't get a birth certificate. They never got social security numbers. They never went to school. In fact, they never really left this farm that they lived on, this land. They just existed there. Their father was a man of many problems, including gambling and abuse, but he taught them how to survive. And Lay learns later on how surviving and living are not the same thing. That's a big theme in this book, too. Her mother was a beautiful woman who loved her husband to the point of harm to herself and to her children. And she eventually had to do what she had to do to survive and feed her children when her husband disappeared for months on end. And when her husband never wanted his family to leave their land, she had to figure out how to feed her kids. And for a woman with very little, there are very few options other than using her beauty. And Lee loves her little, she also had a little sister, and she loved her little sister the most. And her little sister was kind and beautiful, and she loved flowers so much, which, is a theme when she gets to this flower farm. It's the memories of her sister and her love of flowers that kind of push her there. And unfortunately, her little sister's beauty kind of sparked interest in a man that was too old for her, and kind of ignited a maternal jealousy. And then one day, through acts of violence, they were all gone. And then Lee has to pay the price. And so her time on the farm is on this farm, we learn about her history. We start to learn the reasons why she was incarcerated. And we also see her thrive on this farm, because Luke and Tib and Jackson, these gentlemen have also been through horrible life situations. And they know what it means to go through that pain and to heal from that pain. And so they help her figure that out. And so on this farm, you've got people who are working, right? Working to better themselves, working to better their land. And she kind of gets into the thick of it and learns from that. This is a book about redemption. It's about learning to forgive those who have harmed you and how to forgive yourself as well. It's about learning how to live, to really live, to not just exist. Like I said, she grew up on this plot of land that her father owned. Her father never wanted them to leave that land. And so she learned how to survive it. She learned how to, if she didn't, she learned how to fish, like how to catch food, how to set fires and set up camp in the wilderness. Like she knew how to do all of that. She knew how, if there was ever a reason she needed to run, she could exist. She continued to survive. Um, but she wasn't living. She had not been taught that. Um, and I think about how much our society pushes like getting and acquiring. We got to get more money. We got to get more houses. We got to get more cars. We can't live until we get those things. We got to work, work, work. I'll see my friends after I've gotten this promotion, right? I will find love later. I'll enjoy life when I'm retired. All of these things, because our focus is so often on surviving and to making sure that that we do not live. And so that was the experience that she had, where, and they didn't really have, but all they focused on was what it meant to continue to wake up and go to sleep each day, to continue to breathe. Um, the characters in this book really do show the purpose of hard work, right? They work on a flower farm. And like any farm, farming is not an easy job. It takes time, it is strenuous, it's long hours, it's, long days, but there's purpose to that work, right? And it talks about that, like doing what's important. Like it's important to enjoy the work that you do, enjoy the people that you surround yourself with, enjoy the world around you, the trees and the oceans, and especially the flowers, because they live on a flower farm. So what I really enjoyed about this book was it takes us through the experiences of this one character, horrible experiences, quite honestly. This, growing up the way she grew up, having family who may not have always had her best interests at heart, because they could only do what they could do to survive. And she learns how to live again. And this book is also about falling in love, platonically and romantically, meeting people who see you for who you are, not for what you've done, and loves you through it. And it was lovely. This book was lovely. It's my first by Terah Shelton Harris. I will say that the language or the writing is flowery. It's not very straightforward. It's a book that you got to sit with. You got to read it. There's some passages you may have to read again or two again. But the payoff was worth it because when I closed this book, I smiled and I felt this, like I was on this journey with Lee, and I was comforted in a way with the way it ended. And to be fair, there's a little bit of drama because no book, no life is complete without it. But I think the payoff was definitely worth it. Having to kind of sit with this book in the way that I did, I really enjoyed it. So pick it up. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all back here next week with another Black Girl Magic Book Chat video. Until then, bye.